One, a throne without a chair. Picture this: a crowded governor's hall in Luanda, 1622, Portuguese officials in polished armor. A delegation from the African kingdom of Ndongo enters. At its center is a poised, dignified woman, not a princess cloaked in luxury, but a strategist cloaked in calm confidence. She's offered no seat, just a rug, subtle insult, a message: "You're beneath us," but the woman doesn't blink. She signals. A servant kneels. Calmly, she sits upon the servant's back, turning it into a throne. At eye level now, she begins negotiations. That woman, Queen Njinga. And in that single move, she told the Portuguese everything they needed to know. She came as an equal, or not at all. This wasn't just diplomacy. This was defiance with grace, power without noise, and it would define the rest of her life. Too, born into a storm. Long before she took that room by storm, Njinga was born into one. The year was around 1582, a birthplace, the Kingdom of Ndongo, rich with rivers and forests, situated in the shadow of the growing Portuguese colony of Angola. Her people were the Mbondu, proud, politically sophisticated, and under siege. From the moment Njinga entered the world, she defied the expected. She was born breech, feet first, and with her umbilical cord tightly coiled around her neck. Most would consider that dangerous, but her people believed it was something else, a divine sign. The ancestors, it was said, had marked her for a great, if turbulent, path. Her name, Njinga, comes from this very birth. To Njinga in Kibundu means to twist or turn. Her very existence twisted the expectations of who could rule, lead, and resist. 3. A princess raised for more. Unlike many royal daughters, Njinga was not raised simply to be married off or kept in the background. Her father, Angola Kiluanji, was a fierce king battling Portuguese invasions and slave raids. He recognized his daughter's sharp mind and strong will. He had her educated in diplomacy, military tactics, and languages. She learned Kimbondu, the local language, and even Portuguese, rare for a woman of her time. She sat in on war councils, debated with ministers, and trained in combat. By the time she was a teenager, she wasn't just seen as a royal girl. She was a political asset, perhaps even a future ruler. Tradition wasn't on her side. Ndongo, like many kingdoms, passed power through male heirs. That wouldn't stop her, but it would complicate everything. 4. When colonizers came for the land, to understand Njinga's fire, you need to understand the pressure she was under. The Portuguese had arrived in Angola decades earlier. At first they posed as traders and missionaries, but behind the gifts and Bibles were cannons and greed. They wanted slaves, thousands of them, to fuel the brutal plantations of Brazil. So they began forging alliances with some African rulers while betraying others. They backed wars, kidnapped villagers, and devastated local economies. By the early 1600s, the Kingdom of Ndongo was under siege. Their lands were shrinking, their people were vanishing, stolen and sold. Their leaders were either collaborating or dying. And inside this chaos stood Njinga, watching, learning, plotting. 5. Betrayal within the bloodline. After her father's death, the crown passed to her brother, Angola Mande. But the kingdom had been weakened, and so had the king. Gripped by paranoia, he made a move that would fracture their family forever. He ordered the death of Njinga, infant son, her only child. He then had Njinga and her sisters sterilized, ensuring no future heirs could rise through her bloodline. It was cruelty. But it wasn't stupidity. He knew what Njinga was capable of, and that terrified him. Still, Njinga didn't rise in fury. Not yet. She waited. She gathered allies. She explored new opportunities, especially in a neighboring kingdom called Matamba. And then, in 1621, her brother did something he hadn't done in years. He asked for her help. 6. The mission that changed everything. The Portuguese had advanced again, this time occupying the capital of Ndongo. Desperate to negotiate a truce, her brother sent Njinga as the emissary. It was a gamble, but a smart one. Njinga was brilliant, fluent in Portuguese, and fearless. And that's when she walked into that infamous meeting room in Luanda. When the governor tried to humble her with no chair, she responded with that now iconic move, sitting on her servant's back. But the move was more than symbolic. Over the following weeks, Njinga negotiated a peace treaty that shocked the Portuguese. She outmaneuvered seasoned diplomats. She agreed to convert to Christianity, a tactical choice, taking the name Ana de Sousa after her godfather, the governor. The treaty recognized Ndongo's independence. It freed captured nobles. It even paused slave raids for a time. For that brief moment, Njinga had won. 7. When peace wasn't enough, though Njinga had secured a temporary peace, she understood something many leaders overlooked. Peace built without fairness is fragile. Not long after her return from negotiations, her brother passed away. The circumstances remain unclear. Some say illness, others suggest deeper tensions. Whatever the truth, his absence left a power vacuum, and Njinga stepped forward and claimed the leadership of Ndongo. It was a bold move, unprecedented for a woman, but she had proven her ability in diplomacy, strategy, and leadership. Some supported her with enthusiasm, others hesitated, bound by tradition. But Njinga wasn't discouraged. She believed that strength, not gender, made a ruler. 8. A new beginning in exile. Resistance from rivals and interference from the Portuguese escalated, forcing Njinga and her followers into the wilderness. Many assumed her reign would quietly end there. But that's not what happened. Instead, Njinga looked to the neighboring kingdom of Matamba, a place known for its resilience and strategic location. Through both diplomacy and force, she took control and established her rule there. This wasn't just survival, it was a new beginning. In Matamba, Njinga built a kingdom that stood for unity, strength, and self-determination. She welcomed communities seeking protection and created a government rooted in fairness and strategy. 9. A new kind of resistance. From her new stronghold, Njinga organized one of the most enduring resistance movements of her era. Rather than engage in large-scale battles, she used strategic warfare, small, swift actions that disrupted her enemies and protected her people. Her forces were trained to adapt to their surroundings and avoid direct confrontations when unnecessary. Njinga also understood the value of alliances. She partnered with groups seeking freedom and with foreign powers that could help balance the influence of the Portuguese. Under her leadership, Matamba became a safe place for many, an example of what was possible when courage and cleverness met in leadership. 10. A leader of two worlds. Njinga knew that leadership meant understanding not just strength but identity. She maintained relations with European leaders and sent letters that reflected her knowledge of their customs and beliefs. At the same time, she respected and upheld the traditions of her own people. In her court, African customs were preserved. Wes communities celebrated local festivals, respected their ancestors, and found unity through shared history. Njinga balanced both worlds, and in doing so, protected her people's culture, while also using diplomacy to ensure stability. This ability to navigate both African and European expectations made her not just a leader, but a symbol of resilience and adaptation. 11. A lasting legacy of leadership. Even in her later years, Njinga remained deeply involved in governance. She worked tirelessly to build institutions, improve trade, and resolve conflicts among local communities. She mentored future leaders and took steps to ensure the long-term success of her kingdom. Eventually, after years of determination and careful negotiation, she gained recognition from her European adversaries. They acknowledged her kingdom's independence and entered into agreements that respected Matamba's sovereignty. It was a remarkable achievement, not gained through surrender, but through mutual understanding. 12. The end of a historic journey. Njinga passed away peacefully in 1663 in her capital city. After over 40 years of leadership, she left behind a kingdom that was stronger, more united, and respected. Her life stood as proof that determination, wisdom, and courage can shape history, even in the most difficult times. Njinga was remembered not only as a powerful queen, but also as a visionary who protected her people, balanced different cultures, and left a legacy that would inspire generations. 13. After the crown, a legacy reclaimed. Long after Nzinga's time, the story of her life remained powerful, told in songs, oral histories, and records that survived against the odds. For centuries, many official histories overlooked her. Others misrepresented her leadership. But among her people, her memory lived on as a symbol of intelligence, strength, and perseverance. In recent years, researchers and educators have begun restoring her place in world history, not just as a queen, but as a key figure in global resistance and leadership. Statues were raised, books were written, and her name returned to classrooms, inspiring new generations of leaders. 14. A voice of empowerment. Nzinga's story is one of empowerment, not just for women, but for anyone who has ever faced impossible odds. She led not by following expectations, but by reshaping them. She refused to be limited by her circumstances, and instead defined her own path forward. Through diplomacy, strategy, and wisdom, she protected her people and challenged forces far larger than her kingdom. She showed that leadership is not just about strength, it's about vision, patience, and the courage to stand alone when necessary. Today, her story is told not just in Angola, but across the world. 15. Lessons that still matter. Queen Njinga's life holds important lessons for our world today. She reminds us that justice must be paired with action, that peace must be rooted in fairness, that culture and identity must be protected even when change feels inevitable. She also reminds us that leadership is not defined by where you begin, but by the choices you make when it counts the most. In an age where history is often written by the powerful, Njinga's story is a reminder that truth can survive, even in the shadows. 16. A queen remembered today. Queen Njinga is remembered not just as a ruler, but as a symbol of dignity and leadership. Her name is honored in Angola and celebrated across the African continent. Schools bear her name. Her image appears on currency. Her life is studied in universities. And more importantly, her story lives in the hearts of people who understand what it means to lead with courage, to protect what matters, and to rise even when the odds are against you. Queen Njinga's life may have ended over 350 years ago, but her legacy continues to speak across time. 17. The power of history. History is not just about dates and events, it's about stories that help us understand who we are. The story of Queen Njinga teaches us that even in the most difficult circumstances, leadership, intelligence, and resilience can create change. And when one person dares to stand up for what's right, they don't just protect their present, they inspire the future. 18. A final reflection. So the next time you hear a story that seems forgotten, ask why. Ask who benefits from forgetting. Ask what truths might lie beneath the silence. Because sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones that took the longest to be told. Queen Njinga's story is one of them. A queen, a warrior, a visionary, a leader, and now, thanks to people who keep telling her story, her name will never be forgotten.